As after release, the acetylcholine is going to act on both the receptors, that's the muscarinic receptors and the nicotinic type of the receptor. That's a very well understood phenomenon. So here what we have discussed is synthesis of acetylcholine, then the release of the acetylcholine, then action on the post synaptic cleft and the destruction of the acetylcholine in the cholinergic neurotransmission. In the skeletal muscles, stimulation of motor nerve results in release of acetylcholine from perfused muscle flows intra-arterial injection of acetylcholine. It produces muscular contraction similar to the elicited by the stimulation of a motor nerve. So the amount of the acetylcholine, usually 10 to 17 moles, required to elicit the excitatory postsynaptic potential following its microinotrophic application to the motor end plate of right diaphragm muscle is equivalent to that recovered from each fiber following the stimulation of phrenic nerve. So whenever you stimulate the phrenic nerve, a quanta of the acetylcholine is released that is equivalent to 10 to 17 molars, and upon activation of the receptor by acetylcholine, its intrinsic channel opens about 1 millisecond. During this interval, 50,000 sodium ions traverse the channel. Means whenever the action potential comes in a cholinergic nervous system, the acetylcholine opens the channel, especially the sodium channel, and about 50,000 sodium ions are coming inside. And the process is based for the localized depolarizing excitatory postsynaptic potential with the end plate, which triggers the muscle contraction potential. So, especially in case of skeletal muscles, it is very fast. Within a fraction of a second or within a millisecond, the action is initiated. Then the sodium is coming inside and potassium moving is outside. So, because of this thing, ultimately, it is going to have the contraction. And here you can see there is the release of the acetylcholine, which caused by depolarization of the nerve terminal. Depolarization occurs by, as usual, the sodium and potassium currents, and depolarization makes the what you call as the nerve twitching by the entry of calcium through voltage gated calcium channels, then fusion of the vesicular membrane with the plasma membrane with the docking complex, and release of acetylcholine, and along with that ATP and other co-transmitters are extruded out via exocytosis. And following the section of and degeneration of the motor nerve to the skeletal muscle of the postganglionic fibers to autonomic effectors, there will be a marked reduction in the threshold dose of the transmitters. Certain other drugs required to elicit a response. That is called as the denervation supersensitivity. Please remember this particular thing, denervation supersensitivity. Whenever the denervation supersensitivity is the increased sensitivity of a autonomic fiber, postganglionic fiber, whenever the nerve is cut, supplied to the skeletal muscle is cut, and because of this thing, the threshold is decreased to the neurotransmitters. So that's known as the denervation supersensitivity. Means whenever you are denerved, the sensitivity increases to highest extent. That's known as the denervation supersensitivity. If you cut the nerve supply to the skeletal muscle, then the neurotransmitters, especially acetylcholine, will elicit a very much increased response. That's known as the denervation supersensitivity. Here you can see this how the denervation supersensitivity occurs is by wherever this is a presynaptic nerve terminal, and there will be increased acetylcholine receptor in the vicinity because of the denervation. And The degeneration super sensitivity is going to occur whenever a nerve is cut, especially in the upregulatory of the receptor, because there is the receptor subfamily will be increased and it is distributed throughout the synaptic cleft and decreased rate uptake of secreted neurotransmitters, especially here, and the marked proliferation of nicotinic acetylcholine receptor in motor and plate after denervation of the particular nerve which is supplied to the skeletal muscles, and it is known as the denervation supersensitivity. Whereas in case of smooth muscles, no atrophy but hypersensitivity is seen, and the prolonged usage of reserpine, which is also neuronal uptake depleter, used in increased BP condition and stopping the hypersensitivity to norepinephrine. Especially, it is the reserpine is used as an antihypertensive drug in a case of increased blood pressure, and it is going to deplete the norepinephrine whenever it is released. The degeneration supersensitivity is in simply whenever the nerve supplied to a skeletal muscle is cut here, then the skeletal muscle becomes more sensitive to the release of the acetylcholine. That's known as the denervation supersensitivity, and this is because the what you call as the upregulation of the receptor and decreased uptake of secreted neurotransmitter. That's a very commonly occurring question, denervation supersensitivity. And the autonomic effect of the cholinergic what you call as the stimulation or inhibition of the autonomic fibers on activation of muscarinic cholinergic receptor. So in this case, the effector is coupled to the receptors by G protein. G protein means once again, as you have already learned in the previous classes, once again the G proteins are classified into so many categories. In smooth muscle and the cardiac conduction, especially the sinoarterial node, atrium, AV node, and his Purkinje system, normally the conduction is reduced, and in contrast to the skeletal muscles due to the difference in the receptor. So type of the receptors are M2 in case of the heart muscles are concerned, whereas M1 in other tissue it's excitatory, whereas it is inhibitory in case of the heart muscles. And a primary action of the acetylcholine in initiating these responses, this effect through the muscarinic receptor is brought about by the increase in the sodium and in some instances calcium conductance. Hence, acetylcholine stimulates ion fluxes across the membranes and mobilizes the intracellular calcium to cause contraction. So how it is going to cause the contraction, especially in case of the skeletal muscles, especially the muscles, through the muscarinic receptors is brought about by the increasing calcium, sodium, and increasing calcium conductance. Especially in case of skeletal muscle, calcium plays a pivotal role or key role in contraction, especially the calcium conduction. Hence, the acetylcholine stimulates ion fluxes across membranes and mobilizes intracellular calcium to cause the further contraction. And what happens in case of heart? Because in case of heart, it is having the inhibitory action, decrease in the rate of the heart rate, etc. And the stimulation of cholinergic innervation, which is supplied through the vagus nerve, causes inhibition associated with hyperpolarization of the membrane and a marked decrease in the rate of depolarization because of the increased permeability to what you call as the potassium. Increased permeability to potassium. That's how it is going to act. And the autonomic ganglia, the primary pathway of the cholinergic transmission in autonomic ganglia is similar to that of the neuromuscular junction of the skeletal muscles. So ganglion cell can be discharged by injecting very small amounts of acetylcholine into the ganglion. That's how it is being controlled. And here once again, this is the anatomy of that particular nervation, especially autonomic system supplied to the heart. Usually the heart is supplied with the cholinergic vagus nerve and also from several other cholinergic nerves by the varieties of the nerve. Of course, the cardiopulmonary splanchnic nerves are also going to be supplied with thoracic lumbar vertebrae of the spinal cord. So, nicotinic cholinergic receptors, which are ligand-gated cation channels with properties similar to those found in the neuromuscular junction, especially the nicotinic receptors are very similar to that of the neuromuscular junction, and the ganglionic transmission is highly complex process, especially in case of the cardiac muscles, and several secondary transmitters or modulators either enhance or diminish the sensitivity of the postganglionic cell to acetylcholine. So there is a varied response of the postganglionic cells in response to the acetylcholine, and this sensitivity appears to be related to membrane potential of the postsynaptic nerve cell body or its dendritic branches. So what happens especially in case of the pre-junctional sites is the considerable attention has been focused on possible involvement of the pre-junctional cholinergic sites, both cholinergic and non-cholinergic transmission and the actions of the various drugs. So the cholinergic innervation of the blood vessel is limited, especially to the heart. Activation of the muscarinic receptor results in the liberation of the vasodilator substances. It's also known as EDRF, endothelial derived relaxing factor, or now it is very well characterized, that is nitric oxide. And this released nitric oxide diffuses to the smooth muscle and causes relaxation. This is how the relaxation, especially in case of heart, is caused by the prejunctional action of the acetylcholine. And now we will come to the cholinergic receptors and its subtypes and the signal transduction mechanism. And Sir Henry Dale is the first scientist noted the various esters of the choline elicited responses that were similar to those of the nicotinic and muscarinic type depending on the pharmacological preparations. And what Sir Henry Dale suggested that acetylcholine is a neurotransmitter in the autonomic nervous system. That's very well established by Sir Henry Dale. But he also noted the compound had dual actions, which termed as the nicotinic action and the muscarinic action or muscarinic type action. So in some places it used to contract the muscles, and some places it used to relax. That's why they assigned it as the nicotinic type of the response and muscarinic type of the response. So the capacities of the tuberculorin, D-tuberculorin, neuromuscular blocking agent, and atropine, a specific receptor antagonist, block nicotinic and muscarinic respectively, whereas the atropine sulfate is not having any action on the skeletal muscles, whereas the tuberculorin, D-tuberculorin, is going to block the nicotinic type receptors and muscarinic type of the receptors respectively, provided further support for the proposal of two distinct types of the cholinergic receptors. And further, he also suggested crude plant alkaloids of Amanita muscaria and Nicotina tabacum or Nicotiana tobacco. And it will note that the primary classification of the adrenergic receptor. So alkaloids are derived from the two plants. One is Amanita muscaria and another one is the tobacco plants, that is the Nicotiana tabacum. So both of these were secreting the different chemical entities. One is the muscarine, another one is the nicotine. So stimulation of the cholinergic nerves also was having the similar type of the action, and hence it is noted as these are muscarinic and nicotinic type of the receptors. So what are the subtypes of the muscarinic receptors? There are many receptors, especially five type of the receptors. Already you know it very well, starting from M1, M2, M3, M4 and M5. So the first three, M1 and M2 and M3 are major, whereas the M4 and M5 are not so major. And M1, M2, M3 receptors are present on effector cells as well as on the pre-junctional nerve ending and are expressed both in peripheral organs as well as in the central nervous system. So all these three types of the receptors are vastly distributed, especially in case of peripheral organs as well as in case of the central nervous system. The M4 and M5 receptors are present mainly on the nerve endings in certain areas of the brain and regulate the release of neurotransmitter. M4 and M5 are mainly confined to central nervous system and regulate the release of the other neurotransmitters, especially the central neurotransmitters like GABA, glutamate, glycine, dopamine, etc. So here you can see the important subtypes of the muscarinic type of the receptors, their location, nature, transducer mechanism, and agonists and antagonists. Because this we have to learn, which gives the basic information about all the type of the receptors, especially. So the M1 type of the receptors are located on the autonomic ganglia and also gastric glands and central nervous system. So three places: autonomic ganglia, gastric glands, especially gastric parietal cells. And what happens is the action is depolarization, especially late excitatory post-synaptic potential occurs, especially in case of the stomach. Histamine is going to be released. Because of the histamine release, they are going to act on the H2 type of the receptors and acid is being secreted. Especially in the case of central nervous system, learning, memory and motor functions are mediated by the M1 type of the receptor, whereas it is the GQ type of the protein, means excitatory type of this thing. And the transducer mechanism, especially inositol triphosphate, diacylglycerol, and increased cytosolic calcium takes place and the contraction takes place. And also phospholipase A2 and the prostaglandin synthesis are also increased in the other sites, especially the gastric glands, etc. Whereas the agonist of this M1 are MC1343A, MC1343A and oxytremorin. These are the agonists of the M1 type of the receptor. Please do remember one or two examples: MCN343A and oxytremorin. Whereas the antagonists are the pyranzapine and telazapine. So pyranzapine is going to block all these many of the type of the receptors, whereas the atropine blocks all the type of the subtype of the muscarinic receptors. Whereas the M2, it's going to decrease the hyperpolarization rate of impulse generation, especially to rate of impulse generation is decreased. Whereas in case of the AV node, decreased velocity of the conduction, and in case of atrium, especially shortening of the duration, especially the action potential duration, and the decreased contractibility occurs. In case of the ventricle, decreased contractility slightly decreased, and the receptor are the PARS receptors, and cholinergic nerve ending, there is a decrease in the acetylcholine release. Whereas in case of central nervous system, tremors, analgesia, visceral smooth muscles contraction will occur. Especially M2 are very specific to that of the heart. That's why all these things are left, especially how it's going to act on the SA node, AV node, atrium, ventricle, especially in the cholinergic nerve ending. And in case of CNS, the central nervous system, there is tremors and analgesia. They are all thing, especially in case of the muscles of the smooth muscles, visceral smooth muscles are going to be contracted with that of the M2 type of the receptors. Yes. Then the nature of the proteins involved are the G inhibitory or GO protein coupled receptors, whereas the transducer mechanism is potassium channel opening and decrease in the cyclic AMP mechanism. Hence, relaxation occurs. The agonist is methaqualone, is a specific agonist of the M2 type of the receptor, and the antagonist is methotrexate and tryptamine. These are the specific antagonists of the M2 type of the receptors, whereas the M3 type of the receptors are located on most of the visceral smooth muscles, and there is a the function is contraction of the smooth muscles, especially on the iris, constriction of the pupil, ciliary muscle, contraction, exocrine glands, secretion, vascular endothelium, release of nitric oxide, and there will be vasodilatation. Whereas the proteins which are responsible for the actions are the GQ type of the proteins, and the mechanism involved is same to that of the M1 type of the receptor. Increase in the stimulation occurs in acetyl triphosphate and diacylglycerol. They are going to increase the cytosolic calcium, and the phospholipase A2 is also going to increase the PG synthesis. Whereas the agonist is bethanicol, then antagonist is solifenacin and darifenacin. These are all the